On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we talk about the Sooners adding Jer'Michael Carter out of the transfer portal. Then Tim MacMahon joins us to preview Thunder Nuggets and talk some NBA playoffs. And of course, we give you our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Sunday, May 4th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. This weather, this is more like it.
Yeah. The horrible rain was worth it to get a couple of days like we've had here this weekend. Beautiful.
We may be experiencing the best weather days of the year right now. Enjoy them, people. Let's do it. This is fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing outside right now. Last night evening was beautiful. Play a little league baseball tournament, no big deal. Enjoying the nice weather outside was awesome.
Ready to talk some OU football?
Let's do it.
Sooners land one of the top wide receivers left in the transfer portal in Jer'Michael Carter. He has already signed, listed at 6'4", 190 pounds, coming from McNeese State, Ted.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I I love the measurables. I love that he's got some eligibility left, and from the little I've seen, looks like a athletic guy that's got the length on the outside, which you have to have, and you bring in a guy that's got history in the NFL, being a GM, and going to be a big traits guy, I imagine, and the traits with Jer'Michael Carter look really good.
That's the thing. You look at the production a year ago and last year. This will be his third year of college football. So I believe he's been in college. This will be his third year, and he still has 3 years of eligibility because his first season, I only think he played in 4 games at McNeese State. I don't know if any of that stuff matters anymore, but I believe he has 3 years of eligibility left on paper.
For now, right?
For now, until the rule changes and these guys could all play college football for forever or whatever. But last season, 37 catches for 537 yards and 3 touchdowns. I do want to make it clear. I went back and watched a lot of McNeese State over the weekend. He didn't exactly have Baker Mayfield back there ripping it to him, okay?
Yeah.
So I think this is a guy that could have been a little more productive if they would have had some better quarterback play, at least in the passing game. That was just my observation of watching some of the things from McNeese State. But when you look at his strengths, Ted, it all starts with the size, right?
Yep.
Prototypical size is 6'4", 190. You probably want him to get in that 200-pound range. I'm not quite sure if he's all of 6'4". He's probably more like 6'3", but who cares? He's got the size you're looking for an outside wide receiver.
Yeah. No, and I think that's going to be critical. We know we've seen it in this conference. In the secondary, you're going to get a lot of length. Corners, a lot more length. Safeties, there's some huge safeties in this conference. So to have guys that have the size to start with is a really good place to be. And I mean, hopefully a better hookup, a better part of the other half of the equation in the passing game with the quarterback. Who knows what the real potential is there? I'm sure he's been in the college game for a while now, so I would think that the strength and conditioning where he's coming from has been adequate, but there's still time for him to add some size, some speed, some strength, and continue to develop. And you know, I'm not exactly sure what the future holds, but another guy that's gonna, add some size and some competition to that group, I think we need it. And if you have an ability to add to the roster, throw another guy in the mix that can either find his way on the field or make that room more competitive to where, people have to go above and beyond to be able to get out on the field, I'm all for it.
That's how it feels. Does this feel and Jer'Michael Carter, he looks like a talented guy. Does this feel like some insurance for the Jaden Gibson and Giovanni Gibson situations? Kind of their status being a little up in the air. I feel like this is like, hey, let's go grab another outside wide receiver who's got some time, who we can develop just in case maybe Giovanni doesn't get back as quick as we think he may.
Yep. And you've got, I like the room and we've got some good pieces there, but the fact remains is we don't have a whole lot of guys that have catches in college football games. We've got a lot of guys that have some potential, some young guys. I mean, size and traits wise, he's actually a lot like Manny Choice. And, but I think if you can say, well, we're not sure what those guys are going to look like under the lights. And, some of the other younger players, let's go add someone that has some production and has done it a little bit. And maybe has, even it's not a lot, has some experience that you can draw from.
When I've watched Carter, he doesn't look like a burner. Like I don't think he's out there running 4.4 or anything like that. That would be really, really good if he could at 6'4", 190, or if he gets to around 200 pounds. But it looks like he's got solid speed. And one thing I do like about him, not afraid to work the middle of the field, very willing to run those slants, those digs, make some competitive catches, take some hits while he's doing it. I, with big guys, tall guys, sometimes you worry about them getting off the line of scrimmage. If corners try to press them, get their hands on them. I really like some of the things I've seen from him when it comes to his releases. Like I think he's got a nice, as the kids say, bag of releases. So clearly he's been working on that type of stuff. And I think he's a pretty physical player. Finishes physically when he has the ball in his hands. Doesn't do much dancing once he gets the football, Ted. He kind of gets downhill, and he's not a guy that's going to juke a bunch of guys out. But as far as what needs to get better, like he has to become a more polished player.
Yeah.
And that's route running. They didn't ask him to run, from what I saw, a ton of different routes at McNeese State. And Arbuckle's route tree is a little more extensive than what OU has run these last couple seasons. His sense of urgency on a snap by snap basis just has to go up. And
Yeah.
this is not uncommon among young wide receivers. If he knows the ball has a chance to come to him, he's playing fast.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that's a fairly common thing. I mean, you could almost say the same thing about Giovanni Gibson, looking at some of his stuff. Like looks good, but if you could get him really ramped up and playing every single play with his hair on fire, you may have something there. And through the spring, that's kind of what you saw. And I would imagine with the jumping competition, Jer'Michael Carter is going to be a little bit more on edge. It's going to be way more difficult to find reps. So you would hope that the competition on the roster is going to naturally bring that out of him.
There's no doubt in my mind that Emmett Jones will get that corrected. I hear Emmett talk about it all the time during the season, out on the practice field. You have to You have to be a guy that plays at an extremely high level without the ball in your hands.
Yep.
And that's, hey, if you're running a clear out route for your buddy, you better make them believe it. Blocking on the perimeter, whether that's in the quick screen game, blocking in the running game, like that's wide receiver blocking is where big runs turn into massive runs, game
Yep.
changing runs. And that's just a piece of Jer'Michael Carter's game that needs to improve, and I expect it to improve.
Yeah, especially with the size and the length that he has. I mean, I no one it doesn't show up in the box score, and it's not typically what receivers, are probably dreaming about the night before a football game, but it is an important factor of being a receiver. If you can be a devastating blocker at the position, I mean, it pays dividends in, you know, extending run plays, like you said, extending pass plays, the short crossers. You get a piece of a safety or something, and you never know whenever that block is going to be the one that really turns a short run into some explosive play that can change a game.
He did not run a bunch of precise timing routes at McNeese State. So that's something he's going to have to get with John Mateer, get with Michael Hawkins, and work on. No, your comeback routes, your deep outs, like your digs, some of that stuff that Arbuckle really likes to scheme up in the middle of the field where the ball's coming out as you're breaking. Like there was not a lot of that going on last season for him. So there may be a little of an adjustment period there as a route runner and just getting used to, playing with better quarterbacks.
Yep.
But the guy's got the raw materials, right? And you mentioned it, Ted. That's kind of the thing about having Jim Nagy in the front office now is I feel like they're going to bring in guys that have the measurables for the most part. I mean, you want to bring in good football players. That's what you want to bring in. But you look at Carter physically, he checks all the boxes. Okay, now let's see how he develops as a player. Let's see the type of work he puts in the offseason and just let's see how he responds now to being at Oklahoma instead of McNeese State.
Well, in the limited amount that I have seen John Mateer and what I have heard from, some of the guys on the team, he's going to be demanding on his wide receivers. He's going to get after guys like with the group that they've built at wide receiver right now. Number one, you're not going to be able to get on the field if you're not really cranking up the intensity. Number two, the quarterback's going to be on you, right? He's demanding of those guys. So no, I like it. It's going to be interesting to see and hear how he progresses through the summer. They'll be getting a lot of work in just on their own throwing and stuff with the quarterbacks, wideouts, DB, some one-on-one stuff, and hopefully there's enough time to at least start to build some chemistry before you get into fall camp.
I think it's safe to say he's an outside wide receiver.
I,
If
that's how I view it.
But if you go watch McNeese State, I know where he is every time. He's on the left.
Yeah.
He's outside on the left. Dang near every snap for him. So that will also be an adjustment period. I would assume Ben Arbuckle will make him play some different spots. You got to be able to move around at the SEC level, but I view him as an outside wide receiver. And so when you think about the competition in the room, you've got Manny Choice, Giovanni Gibson, Jaden Gibson. I still really don't know what's going on with that guy. I mean,
I've seen or heard nothing.
nothing. Let's not forget Ivan Carrion. You've got Keontez Lewis, Elijah Thomas, Zion Kearney. I think I named all the outside type
Yep.
guys. That's a lot of guys, and you can't play them all. So Jer'Michael Carter's walking into a very competitive situation, and it's going to be really interesting to see how he responds to that.
Yeah, I'm sure, probably coming from a place where he was maybe like the biggest receiver in the room, at least height wise, and he's going to be walking in there and being like, what's happening in here with all of these gigantic dudes. So I love what that entire position group is starting to look like. There's a lot of bigger guys on the roster now, and no, you're right. I think that the talent level is getting better and better, but you know, it's been good for a couple of years now, and we haven't really put it all together. Hopefully, this is the year where we're able to have all of our best guys out there on the field producing, and some of these guys that have, you know, been nice pieces that look like they've got a good future, finally start to get some production on the board.
A lot of people are probably listening to this and going, "Can he? If he could just stay healthy, he can help us."
Big improvement. Big improvement.
One thing, and it's some of these plays that I watched from Carter where he's making a nice play on the ball, he's high pointing it, he's playing through contact. Like every team needs a great possession receiver. And I know everyone wants to be the guy that makes the explosive plays down the field and is catching the go balls and is running the deep over routes and the deep posts and catching the big plays. Like I know guys want to be that guy, but someone's got to be the deep dig guy, Ted.
Yeah.
Someone's got to run the curls.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's got to run to the sticks and make competitive catches and move the chains. Like they're having a possession wide receiver can be massive for an offense. And if Jer'Michael Carter can just come in, put the work in, use his size, become a better route runner, like I don't see any reason why this guy can't be a good possession wide receiver for OU. I don't think he's just going to be running by guys in the SEC, yep. But if he works at his craft like that, there is always a place on the field for a guy that moves the chains, man, and a guy that can get some things done like down in the red zone area of the field. Like there's always a place for that guy.
Yeah. And you have to be honest with what the realistic opportunities on the field are. It's not going to be easy just to be ripping go balls left and right to wide open guys running for touchdowns. Yards, first downs, points are very difficult to come by in this conference. And an offense, as you said, has to have a possession guy, and quarterbacks love a possession guy where the coverage is tight. You can't just sit back there and throw to wide open guys. You got to kind of throw it to spots and trust that guys with length and athleticism can get to those spots and make those plays and move the chains. And yeah, the comeback routes on the outside, the competitive digs over the middle, the hook area, where a quarterback's throwing it over the backers and in front of the safeties, and to have a nice big target there that's got some range is a quarterback's best friend.
Also, just know where to sit in the zones.
Yep.
Like that's if you can just become that guy, Jer'Michael Carter, you're going to play a lot.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's going to be an extremely competitive situation in the wide receiver room, and we'll see how Carter adjusts to his new home in Norman. Let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys your thoughts on the wide receiver room with the addition of Jer'Michael Carter. Actually, the way we phrased it, how are you feeling about OU's wide receivers? This first one comes from Vader's Raiders. I like the size we're getting at wide receiver. Does that translate to production? I'm going to have to see it. That feels like a very fair stance from Vader's Raiders 501st.
Yeah, and it's totally a reasonable take, and it fits really nicely with how most people feel about the rest of the football team, right? Looks good. Let's see if we actually can see it whenever we take the field in the fall. I mean, you can offensively anyways, you can pretty much go position by position and say, looks good. Will it translate in the fall? So yeah, I'd throw receivers right in that mix.
This other one comes from Sooner McP6, who says, I feel really good about it. If the O line is good and QB is good, then the wide receiver position should take care of itself. We have enough talent at that position group for that to be true. Now, that's only if we can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Pretty good summation of the situation. If the O line plays at a high level, I'll continue to say it. I think this offensive line will determine the ceiling of this football team in 2025. If that group plays well and John Mateer's comfortable back there, I think they've got plenty of talent at wide receiver. And if Burks can stay healthy, then that guy can be a star. And then if you have a star, defenses have to pay extra attention to that guy. That gives the other guys out there at wide receiver some better matchups. You know, maybe some situations where they're working one-on-ones, and you got to go win those matchups. So I'm right there. I think, hey, if all the play around the wide receiver group is good, then they should be just fine.
Yeah. And we've talked about this over the last couple of years. You know, whenever you're struggling everywhere else, defenses are going to get tighter and tighter on the wide receivers. You're going to become more predictable as an offense, and it's hard to protect and find guys open. But if you're playing well in the offensive line, you're running the football well, quarterback has time to operate, you've got a playbook that is wide open because you're moving the football and you're in some better down and distance positions, then receivers are ultimately going to be the biggest beneficiary of everyone else performing well. And yeah, you have, from time to time, you have guys that are just good enough to where everyone else can struggle, but they can go make a handful of plays for you every game that, you know, most guys can't make. But for the most part, receivers are going to benefit massively if the rest of the offense is functioning at a high level. And like you said, that's all going to start with the offensive line.
Ready to talk some Thunder Nuggets? Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, let's preview Thunder Nuggets with our guy, Tim MacMahon, and some other playoff talk, of course. But first, hitting the highway, remember to stop at Love's Travel Stops. You can't miss the heart of the highway, and with the Love's app, you can also save big. How big? 10 or 15 cents big. Save 10 cents per gallon on gas and 15 cents per gallon on auto diesel. Save with the Love's app today and be welcomed by clean places and friendly faces. Certain conditions may apply. See loves.com for details.
You listen to this podcast to get insight from the guys who played the game. Why don't you take that same approach when it comes to buying your beef? When you order from Didier Ranch, you are getting your beef directly from the people who raise it. A rancher knows what it takes to have premium quality beef. Didier Ranch has done it for over 100 years right here in Oklahoma. From delicious 21-day dry-aged ribeyes to savory steak burgers, there is no better place to get your beef. Get your beef from the guys who've done it and use code Oklahoma15 for 15% off on DidierRanch.com. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, an Oklahoma-owned company and the official drinkware partner of the OU Sooners. Vacation season is almost here, and the new Simple Modern Getaway Bag is the perfect companion for every summer adventure. Whether packing for a beach trip, a weekend getaway, or a long road trip, the Getaway Bag's durable rubber sides makes it easy to carry everything you need and just as easy to rinse clean after a day of sand, sun, and fun. It's built to handle it all and go everywhere you want to go this summer. Plus, with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you're helping Oklahomans everywhere. Simple Modern, it's good everywhere. It is our pleasure to be joined by a man he may be banned, but he's still the best. Tim MacMahon is in the house, ESPN, the Hoop Collective. Dude, you're all over the place. What's going on?
I'll be partners will be in Oklahoma City this week. Got a nice, thanks to the Thunder, like a nice week plus off in the middle of the playoffs, and I'm ready to roll again.
Favorite state of the union, right? Oklahoma for you, that's number one.
I call it North Texas, which is also my alma mater. So yes.
North Texas, the mean green. I like it. Let's jump right into it, man. We saw what Denver did to the Clippers last night in Game 7. Initial thoughts on the Thunder Nuggets matchup in the Western Conference semifinals.
Yeah, and look, I had Clippers in 6, but credit to the Nuggets. They obviously just spanked the Clippers in Game 7. And, hey, Denver's a tough place to play. The Thunder are a tough team to play against. And they're obviously the overwhelming favorites talking about the Thunder in the Western Conference. But you couldn't ask for a better storyline here. I mean, you've got the guy who's about to win MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander versus the guy who's won 3 of the previous 4. And I was in the building the last time that these teams met in early March. And obviously that was that little basically a back-to-back between the teams. And Joker had 35, 18, and 8 in that game. And the Nuggets kind of just mollywopped the little old Thunder. And then Joker post-game said, I think I'm playing the best basketball of my career. If that's enough, it's enough. And he was talking about the MVP. I don't think it'll be enough, but they need Joker playing at that level to have a chance to win this series. They need Jamal Murray to play like he did in that game. If Jamal Murray's not cooking, I don't see the Nuggets having much of a chance. And, that obviously OKC is as well equipped to guard Murray as anybody in the league. You start off with Lou Dort, the torture chamber. Throw some Case and Wallace in there. Some Alex Caruso in the mix. Dort's gonna be flipping and flopping on some screens. He's gonna be trying to get those offensive fouls.
Lou Dort would never do that, Tim. Come on. Don't be ridiculous.
No, the guy who's built like a middle linebacker just ends up sprawled on the court from a little hip check on a regular basis. But they better screen him well because you've got to get Dort off of him. And then the most recent Thunder MVP, about 17 teams later, is now playing for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Russell Westbrook, a massive wild card in this series. You guys know the Russ experience, kind of living and dying by it. And hey, the Clippers, another former Russ team, there's a lot of them, but the Clippers basically said, hey, we'll dare you to try to beat us, Russ. You want to shoot wide open threes? Have at it. Hit 42% in that series, and he was pretty happy about it, put his shades on, talked to the media, which isn't necessarily the norm for us these days, and did a little gloating after Game 7. I'm willing to bet you that the Thunder are going to see if that's a trend that continues going in the conference semifinals.
Well, we've this is a old question, old debate, however you want to phrase it, but the Thunder have been sitting around watching, right? And the Nuggets, 7 games. It was a hard fought series.
Mm-hmm.
But they are playing really good coming in off of Game 7. The Thunder, I guess, they got the sweep, but I don't know that anyone would say that they played great through those 4 games. Like rest versus rust, like does this benefit anyone?
Well, the last time we had a rest versus rust question with the Thunder, they went ahead and spanked the Grizzlies by 51 points in Game 1. So, well, yeah, I think that's a pretty good sign that the Thunder and Mark Daigneault know how to use that week plus time of practice to, kind of a combination of rest and making sure that they're sharp. I would much rather be in the Thunder situation where you've got fresh legs, the bumps and the bruises have had a little bit of time to heal. And you've been able to prep. They weren't obviously sure whether it was Nuggets or Clippers, but they've had all that prep time. I'd rather be in their shoes than in the Nuggets shoes, where that was a tough series. Game 7 wasn't tough, but that series was one hell of a series. It was a tough physical series, and then they've got to turn it around on 48 hours. They've got to travel. They basically have minimal prep time. Definitely Game 1, that situation, I think significantly favors OKC.
We've talked about the Thunder a lot over the years, Tim, but this version of the Thunder, and ultimately they will be judged by what they do in these playoffs. But what kind of impresses you the most about this version of the Oklahoma City Thunder and what they've been able to do so far this season?
I mean, obviously it's the defense, right? The best defense in the NBA, and it's not close, and they just come at you in waves. And Lou Dort, I think, is finally kind of getting his due nationally as far as being maybe the best perimeter defender in the NBA. I know the Thunder and probably folks in OKC were upset he wasn't a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. He was fourth in the voting. He's going to be first team all defense. That is long overdue. Alex Caruso has been an all defensive guy. Obviously, if you watch that series against Memphis, you're reminded, like, holy crap, this dude. Like Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be having nightmares about Alex Caruso all summer long. And that comeback in game 3 in Memphis, Caruso just had his fingerprints all over that thing. And the Grizzlies had more turnovers than buckets in an entire half of playoff basketball. And I think people aren't necessarily nationally, I don't think they've come to the realization that Casey Wallace is in that conversation as well. As great as Caruso's hands are, I'm not sure he has the best hands on the team. Casey Wallace's hands are unbelievable. This is the guy, he's going to have, I think, multiple all defensive selections in his future. And then you're dealing with the 2 elite rim protectors. Like, it's hilarious to me because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think this year only got a couple of Defense Player of the Year votes. Last year he got more than that. And it's just like, he's not first team all defense on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I don't mean that to insult Shai. Like, obviously he's impactful on that end. He gets his hands all over the ball as well, steals, blocks. He's a great help defender. He's also the guy that other teams want to target. And that's partially they want to wear him down, but it's also like, who the hell else are you going to go after? So, when you talk about why are the Thunder as dominant as they were this year when they set the NBA record for point differential, you absolutely have to start on the defense. And then, yeah, it does help that you've got the guy who led the league in scoring and did it in efficient fashion. Now, I think the biggest question in terms of can they make a championship run, you get to that second score. And J-Dub, I don't have to tell you guys the difference between J-Dub and J-Will. It took me a little while, to be honest with you. Anyways, J-Dub, last year, conference semifinals, he had a bad offensive series, so he's got something to prove here. But this is the dude who just keeps ascending and ascending and ascending. He's an all-star, and he's coming off a great series against Memphis.
Yeah, and you may have answered it to some degree, but you kind of look whenever you look at the series, you start with the 2 MVP guys and say they're kind of going to get theirs, and then you go down from there. And kind of like what you said about Westbrook coming off the bench, he was huge in that series against the Clippers. Who on Oklahoma City's roster do you think could perhaps serve in that role in this one?
Well, they have to have Jamal Murray playing at a star level. And that's been their formula for their deep playoff runs and for their championship run. It was, Jamal Murray is a guy who's never been an all-star, obviously a really good player, but has proven he can elevate his game in the playoffs. When they've made their championship run, he played at a superstar level throughout that time. They need that from him. And that's tough because he's going to deal with Lou Dort. And then there's going to be Casey Wallace. And maybe he'll get a breather and it'll be Alex Caruso or J-Dub. And, when you get in there, you're dealing with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. But if they don't have him scoring in the high 20s and the 30s, I don't know that Denver's going to have enough to be able to win this series.
How important is this series for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and just his basketball reputation nationally?
Yeah, and look, he's still young. He's going to have a ton of playoff runs, but he's at the point where he's probably going to get the MVP trophy during this series. And, he's obviously that upper tier, top tier superstar. And with that comes a different level of scrutiny. And with that comes, if you don't win a championship, it's a failure. That kind of external pressure. Now, I will say, I don't think Shai's fazed by that sort of pressure. I don't think he's not a guy who's like, I don't think he's a guy who's like spending a lot of time scrolling his mentions. Now, he might be spending a lot of time crafting those IG captions, but he's not worried about, the conversation, the discussion, and, oh my gosh, Stephen A. Smith said this, or, so-and-so said that. He's as focused as it gets, but there's definitely and you asked about the reputation. Yeah, when you are an MVP, and look, Joker dealt with this. He was a two-time MVP, and people were talking about it's a fraud, this and that, which was insane. But all that, you shut all that up with a championship run. I'm based in Dallas. I've covered most of Dirk's career. He's a guy who'd won MVP, and he was considered a soft Euro until he was 32 and led that championship run where he ends up going through the Heat super team, and then suddenly you don't hear soft Euro anymore. So he's early on in terms of being at this level, but that kind of scrutiny is going to come without a championship run. Now, this idea that hell, he hadn't proven himself in the playoffs. I would encourage people to just check the numbers from when they got bounced by the Mavericks last year. Shea was incredible in that series. In that series, he was the best player on the floor. The Thunder just weren't able to win the series. He didn't, again, J-Dub had a rough offensive series. Thunder killer PJ Washington had a huge series.
Don't say his name, Tim.
Right.
No.
But so again, this idea that, hey, Shea hasn't proven he can perform on a playoff stage. It's not true, but it's not just about the individual success. You got to prove it with a at least a deep run, if not a championship run. And certainly, I think Shea and the Thunder are equipped to do that.
Well, I agree, and there is going to be some pressure on Shea. I think he'll handle it well, but I'm kind of more interested in. Is it? Do you think that Thunder can handle it well to go? I mean, they've very quickly gone from the all shucks team to the favorite to win the championship. Do you think they're equipped to handle that pressure? And is that a factor at all in this series?
The Thunder, as well as any young team that I've ever seen, do a great job of embracing the boring. They are masters of the mundane, and they are Sam Presti programmed to not buy into any of the bullshit, right? They do it so well. It's all about how can we get better today? And honestly, it's boring as hell for me, and it's tough for the NBA to market even.
Give us some drama. We need a practice five or something, right?
Yeah, give us some drama. Talk some crap. Come on. But seriously, they are so good about just worrying about what's in front of them, what matters, how can they get better, how can they execute a game plan. I really don't think like all the noise impacts them. They do a great job of shutting it out and understanding that stuff. It's great for me. It's great for me to run my mouth about or write about or get a headline, whatever. It doesn't help them. It doesn't benefit them, and they don't waste any energy. And again, I think that's Sam Presti programming. I think you have to give credit to Mark Dagnall, and then I think you got to get credit to these guys. They have a great culture. They are an extremely young team. Last year, the youngest number one seed in NBA history. This year, right up near the top of that list. But they don't act young. They don't act their age. They're a very mature young team. And, that was even before they brought in a couple of great vets. And, Alex Caruso, he's only 30, despite the fact that you guys have similar hairstyles. But he's won a championship, but he's about all the right. He's like a perfect fitting role player. Isaiah Hartenstein, hasn't won a title, but he's been a key role player on playoff teams. And both these guys were not only great basketball fits. They filled in flaws on the roster, but they're also great cultural fits. So again, I don't think any of the external discussion is going to phase OKC at all. If they don't win, if they don't make a title run, if there's not a parade past the old Tipsy Tiki on the canal, shout out Big Rich, then it's not going to be because the Thunder were scrolling their mentions and said, "Oh my gosh, do you see what they're saying about us?" It'll be, somebody will have to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves.
Now, ultimately, it comes down to, hey, do guys hit shots or not? Right? That's the NBA. But Tim, am I wrong to feel really good about the coaching matchup in this series?
No, I
'Cause
mean,
I mean, Adelman hasn't. Everyone says he's. It seems like he's got a lot of respect around the league, but this was a team that fired their coach like not too long ago.
well, I think Adelman now has 10 games of head coaching experience.
Crazy.
You know, and Mark Davenant was coach of the year last year, is certainly recognized as one of the elite coaches in the NBA. It's not like he's a grizzled vet, but Adelman's very fresh into that seat. Now, Adelman, I'd be shocked if he doesn't get a job on a permanent basis. I think winning a playoff series sealed that. And he is a guy, he's been with that team for a while. He's highly respected by Joker and Murray and on down the roster. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at this, I don't think there's any way you could say, hey, the Nuggets have the coaching advantage. And again, with Mark D, I think a big part of coaching in the NBA is establishing that culture. I just raved about how well the Thunder have done that, but he's also great X's and O's. And one reason they're so good defensively, it is the X's and O's and the schemes and being able to throw different looks. And that's Dagenalt. That's also Dave Bliss, who's their defensive coordinator. Now it does help when you have the kind of talent that they have. But yeah, I think the Thunder have the coaching advantage, and then I think the Thunder also certainly have a depth advantage, and I would argue an overall talent advantage.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first.
Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. Go to schwabmeat.com to order any of Schwab's outstanding products and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab dogs are iconic. I like to keep it simple. Just a bun, dog, mustard, ketchup. Also, the jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is ridiculous. schwabmeat.com, code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days. And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open at 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood. Insurica has launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
All right, back to the interview.
We'll see who wins Game 7 today between Houston and Golden State. But are these the two best teams in the West, in your opinion? Is this kind of a de facto Western Conference Finals? I know everything has to play out, but are these the two teams that you could see making it out of the West?
Yeah, I think whoever wins this series probably does make it out of the West. Then again, I thought that the Thunder were going to play the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. So I also thought the Thunder were going to play the Clippers in the conference semifinals. So I guess that's a nice way of saying, what the hell do I know?
Who knows, right?
But I think your point's accurate. Like, look, you can't just dismiss the Warriors. I mean, they do have still a couple critical elements from a four-time championship team. Playoff Jimmy is a real deal, but we'll see if they can beat Houston. And Houston doesn't have much playoff experience, obviously, but dude, you're going to be in for a brawl if you're dealing with the Rockets. I can promise you that. And especially now, as much as they're playing Steven Adams, as Fred VanVleet said, that old caveman.
Hey,
you guys know Steven Adams.
There's still a mural of him in OKC. If they end up in the Western Conference Finals against the Thunder, we may have to put a tarp over that thing or something. I don't know, dude. He's like found, and he's still a very young human being, but he looks like just rejuvenated. He's been awesome for them.
Well, and the Rockets have done an awesome job. They traded for him last year, thinking, hey, if he gets back right, he can really help us as a backup big. Obviously missed all of last year, and you got to manage his minutes, and they manage his minutes really carefully during the regular season, and they're unleashing them in the playoffs, and they're playing old school bully ball. They will throw him and Şengün out there, and it's a terrible spacing lineup, and they don't give a crap because they're like, who cares? we'll get up any old shot and then we'll grab the rebound and we'll go from there. So, but yeah, getting back to your point, Teddy, Denver's a recent championship team. Joker is, I think Shea's going to be the MVP. I would be hard pressed to say that Joker's not still the best player in the NBA. I think that's it's a nuanced conversation, but Joker's got three of the last four, and to me, you kind of flip a coin between them. I'd go with Shea this year. One, because if it's even, I'm going with a guy who A, hasn't won one yet, and B, whose team won the most games in the league and set the NBA record for point differential. And Oklahoma City, they haven't done it yet, but that's like the only thing you can kind of nitpick with their resume as a championship contender at this point.
You like the Thunder to win this series?
I think that is fair to say. I'm also, I've come around and I have a policy that I do not pick series that I'm covering.
Oh, okay, Kurt Herbstreit. What are we doing here, MacMahon? Come on.
You know what? It's funny. Here's the reason I finally started doing that. You'd be shocked how much players care about that crap.
Oh, I would not be shocked at all, man.
Well, yeah, because you used to be.
They will rub it right in your face if you get it wrong there, bud.
Oh, no, but you used to be one of them. You should Barry Trammell picked us to lose this game. I'm mad. By the way,
shout out to our man, Barry Trammell.
And I'm looking forward to the Barry Trammell-Russ interactions during this series as well.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you stopped doing it because you picked the Lakers to make it to the Western Conference Finals and the Clippers to beat the Nuggets.
That too. But no, and I love it. Then idiots are in your mentions, but I got those quick little. You see those thumbs are fast. I'll mute you real quick. But no, so I'll tell you a story, and this story is actually in the book, The Wonder Boy, Luka Doncic.
Don't worry, it's on the list of questions. Yeah, go buy Tim's book. We're gonna talk. That's the last thing we're gonna talk about.
But in all seriousness. I'm covering. This is the year the Mavericks went to the Western Conference Finals, and you'll remember they played the Suns in the conference semis. The 64-win Suns team that had the best record in the NBA, and I picked Suns in 7, which okay, fine. Every single ESPN person picked the Suns, and I think there was like 21 of us. So the graphic was 21 Suns logos, and the Mavericks had just white blank space. And obviously that's the thing that goes viral and it ends up in the player group chat, the Mavs player group chat. And I walk into shoot around before game 1 and, Dorian Finney-Smith is like, hey man, why didn't you, I'm like, they won 64 games. Like, what do you want from me? He's like, man, people mad at you. I'm like, okay. And so I walk by, I'm walking, J-Kid's about to talk at the scorers table, and I walk by Luka. I pause because he's doing his thing where he's sitting over in the courtside seats, like flinging shots at the rim, 45 feet away. And so I pause and let him unleash one, and I walk by, and then I hear a "Hey, man!" And I shit you not, this is the first time that Luka ever initiated a conversation with me. He's not much to chit chat with the media. This is the 4th year of his career. I look back. And I'm like, what? He goes, I see you picked the Suns. I'm like, oh, I see. And I'm like, yeah, if I offended you by predicting that you'd push them to 7 games, the teams with the team with the league's best record, then, my bad. No. And then he was like, I just thought you worked for us. I'm like, no. Mark Cuban doesn't sign my checks. Mickey Mouse, not Mark Cuban. He's like, oh, okay. And he's just like, we'll see. And so I got a bunch of crap during that series. And then after that series, at the end of the series, you remember they blew them out in game 7, right? They completely humiliated the Suns in game 7.
It's like a shocking blowout.
Luka literally outscored the Phoenix Suns in the first half by himself. And I walk in, or he walks into the press conference room after the game, and he looks right at me. And he just goes, told you. And I go, hey, I changed my prediction at halftime. but and then it just got to a point where it's like, okay, so And it's a little bit different when it's Dallas because I'm based here, but it's either like, okay, I'm just going to be Homer guy who I pick the Mavericks no matter what, just so I don't have to hear any crap. Or if I'm wrong, it's like this curse, this like crime against humanity. And then so I stopped picking series. I did this last year, but then people put it out on social media anyway. They'd like Photoshop stuff and doctor stuff, or like last year against Oklahoma City, they put out stuff from like an OKC series years before. Like he picked against us again. So, anyways, the whole thing is it's a whole bunch of ridiculousness over something that I'll be honest with you, when I do these predictions, I put about 15 seconds of thought into it. Whatever. So I just didn't feel like dealing with crap by picking the series that I'm actually covering.
I'm putting out a graphic on my Twitter that has you picking Denver in 4. I'm just going to go ahead.
There you go. Hey, it's remember the Suns and 4 guy who whooped that Nuggets
Yeah.
fan's butt. That's what people be doing to me if I put Denver and 4 out there.
Before we talk about the book, anything else in the NBA playoffs that you're really interested in? Like the East, it feels like we're destined for Boston, Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals, or Pacers.
Probably. I was going to say, like, I think the Pacers are going to be a scrappy second round opponent for Cleveland, especially Darius Garland's got a toe. You guys know how those toe things can linger. He's questionable today. We'll see if he plays. I don't think that's going to be an easy second round series. I hope the Knicks can put up a fight against the Celtics. I'm pretty skeptical on that one, to be honest with you. And then, look, man, I love watching Ant play basketball. I love watching Ant play playoff basketball. I'm fired up for Game 7, Houston Golden State, and then I'm excited to see whoever that's going to be. Whether it's going to be just this. I mean, if it's Minnesota versus Houston, that is going to be rock 'em, sock 'em, blood. It's going to be, you guys will like that series because it'll be like, like it'll be like those inside run drills when you guys used to butt heads.
Yeah.
But and then if it's Golden State, Minnesota, Ant, who is maturing at 23 years old in a basketball sense against his, obviously this championship core veteran Golden State squad. So I'm fired up for that series as well.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Well, tell us about the book. I mean, one of the wildest NBA trade deadline moves that I ever remember, and it's one of those that is probably going to continue to be talked about for a really long time. And you got all the details on it.
Yeah, well, and what's funny is, believe it or not, there's a lot of people in Dallas who think like I'm a Luka hater, which is I kind of take as a compliment because it means I covered his tenure here honestly, right? And wasn't just kissing his butt the whole time. But look, the guy's got flaws. You have eyeballs. Like the condition has been a concern throughout his career. I would cover that. The petulance has been an issue throughout his career. I've covered that. But still, to trade that guy fresh off a finals appearance before he hits his prime is just an insane decision. And certainly, as much as I knew there was frustration with him, it was not something. And I didn't even told if we got to trade him, we'll trade him. I'm like, okay, buddy, sure you will. I rolled my eyes. I did not see this coming, and I think this book proves it because when the first print run happened, well, it was before the trade was made. And so the last line of this book is Lucas saying, "This is the franchise that drafted me and they gave me the keys. I'm just glad I'm here in Dallas." Now, after the book was printed, I definitely hustled and wrote a new final chapter. And that'll be in the later print runs. If you get one of the early copies, you can find it on my X account. There's a link where you get the final chapter PDF to you. It's in the ebooks, the audiobooks, all that. But this whole book is about the pressure on a franchise when you draft a prodigy through the prism of Luka and the Mavericks. And you guys lived it in Oklahoma City, right? Like Kevin Durant is one of the prime examples. And he gave the Thunder 9 years. And I know there's hard feelings, but 9 years is a long time. But it's this pressure of build that championship team or they might leave. And the Mavericks managed to, despite all kinds of whiffs, like the Porzingis trade blew up in their face, they completely bungled the Brunson situation. They had a tank to keep a top 10 protected pick after pulling off the Kyrie blockbuster deal. They managed to ease that pressure. They just were fresh off the finals. And then to turn around months later and blindside this dude, really stab him in the back and dump him. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
I can only imagine what was going through your head as you found out that trade was real, being someone that had just written a book about it. Were you okay?
No, I was fine. And look, so I was in Cleveland. I don't travel with the Mavericks much. I just happened to have just gotten to Cleveland. I actually came from San Francisco. I saw the little Thunder in San Francisco on that trip, actually, and had flown to Cleveland and was just about to go to bed. It was a little bit after midnight on the East Coast, and ding, oh, I'm not sleeping. And I was able to get Nico Harrison on the phone pretty quickly after honestly, about 5 minutes after the trade. And that's when he gave me the quote that started with defense wins championships, which he said a few times since then. I was able to get, the immediate reaction, honestly, is I've got to get some reporting done. Like this is a 5 alarm fire, so I was able to get reporting done. I was, the first one to put out there, hey, this is related to all the conditioning concerns. They didn't want to give him the supermax, to kind of get their reasoning out there. Got to do the emergency pod. Oh, Wendy and Bontemps. Time for some Hoop Collective action in the wee hours of the morning. But it was just before we started recording the Hoop Collective pod. I sent an email to my book agent and the publishing company, basically like, hey, we got to meet ASAP. There's been a slight little development, and that's when I came up with, like I can get you this final chapter. I can turn it around in 2 weeks' time. And so every year I take my wife on an all-star weekend getaway, cash in those Marriott points, airline miles. This year we were going to St. Martin, and it was so obviously like the trade was made days before the trade deadline. It's the busiest time in my professional career dealing with that. I was in Oklahoma City the night before the day of the trade deadline because you remember KD and the Suns came through there, and so I had to deal with the Luka watch. I was on KD or the Luka aftermath. I was on the KD watch. Then we've got like massive protests and the AD's insane debut, and oh crap, he's hurt, and all that stuff. The Mavericks have 4 games and 6 nights leading up to the All-Star break, including that Thursday night when they managed to beat the Heat. People are getting thrown out for saying "Fire Nico" or "Fire Nico" hats and sure. I mean, it's insanity. I pull an all-nighter. Maybe the first all-nighter I'd pulled since I was in like college. Pull all-nighter, and I finished the book or the final chapter at 4 a.m. I had a 6 a.m. flight, so I finish it. Boom, grab my bag, grab my wife, off we go. Flight to Miami, connecting to St. Martin. Did the edits on the way. Get this in St. Martin. I had I called a Luca like triple double. We were there 3 nights, and I believe I had at least 10 beers each night. So have a good time. And then we're okay. Kind of, I'm dragging a little bit after that. I'm not in the kind of condition I used to be. Dragging a little bit. Everything's on island time over there. You guys are worldly. You've been to places like this. So it's taken forever. My wife's got to check a bag. You can't go 3 nights without having she can't do a carry-on for 3 nights. You kidding me? We got
No way.
17 outfits. So she's got to check a bag. It's taken forever at the airport. And then we get up to the front, and suddenly 2 Nike bags and a Jordan bag cut the line. Like an airline employee cuts the line with them. I'm like, what the? I'm cussing and pissed, and my wife says, I think Nico's behind us. I turn around. Freaking Nico Harrison, of all people, is in the St. Martin airport, cutting in front of me. And I'm just like, man, I flew all this way to get away from you. But there he was. There he was. And fortunately, we were on the same flight to Miami. Then we were on different connecting flights home because I was thinking, man, because I was being called a mouthpiece at the time because people on the internet are idiots, as you guys probably are well aware. And I'm just like, the last thing I need is for us getting off the same freaking flight and people thinking we went on an all-star weekend vacation together.
That is
That
awesome.
dude, that's an awesome story. Tim, you are the man. We'll see you in Oklahoma City for the series, buddy.
Ooh,
Excited
can't
for
wait.
dinner. Can't wait.
Excited for dinner. And hey, listen, I'm excited for the Dallas Wings, baby. We
Let's
are fired
go.
up. We are fired up for the Paige Beckers era. Listen, there's these people, the basketball community in Dallas, they got their hearts ripped out this season, and here comes Paige, this angelic savior. So we're looking forward to that as well.
My man. I appreciate you. Thanks, dude.
Appreciate it, brothers. Adios, amigos, and I'll see you soon.
If you're as passionate about OU sports as we are, now's your chance to make a difference with One Oklahoma. As the official NIL partner of the University of Oklahoma, One Oklahoma plays a crucial role in keeping the Sooners competitive in the SEC. Your subscription goes beyond the revenue sharing cap, directly helping recruit and support the athletes who become Sooner legends. Plus, you'll get access to exclusive events, behind the scenes content, merch, giveaways, and more. Join the team and be the difference maker for your Sooners. Join today at oneoklahoma.com. And three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go. And go to opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED for 10% off our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED. Buttery soft and 10% off. Let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
OU baseball, huge first two games to take the series over Ole Miss. Everything is important, obviously, throughout the season, but you're getting into the final critical moments. It's starting to become a little bit more clear whenever you look at the standings and follow the races nationally, and pretty much consensus. If Oklahoma can take the series against Ole Miss and take the series against Kentucky and, take at least a game from Texas, really good chance of hosting a regional. And you can check that first accomplishment off by winning the series against Ole Miss in really nice fashion. Game one, I was out there on Friday night, beautiful night at the ballpark. Great crowd, and Kyson Witherspoon was dealing. That was really fun to watch.
Is he the best pitcher in college baseball?
A lot of people are you're starting to hear that fairly often.
That is a sincere question. I'm not going to pretend I watch a bunch of college baseball. The only team that I watch is OU. That's really it. So I've seen a bunch of the SEC teams, watching them play their series against OU, but I've got a very tough time believing there's someone better than that guy, man. He was unbelievable in game one, and he's been so consistently fantastic this year. It feels like the guy is, I'm enjoying him while I can, Ted.
It's a lot of fun watching him play. He's got velocity, he can dial it up around 97, 98, has a great slider, great changeup, and he's fun to watch because when he's got it going and he's feeling it, he is talking trash out there and giving it to the other team, and it is a lot of fun. He is an entertaining guy to watch throw.
So he struck a lot of guys out. What was your go-to celebration on the strikeouts? I know you've got something. I can't imagine you're just a sit and golf clap guy.
No,
I imagine
an
it's a little more
over
animated.
an over exaggerated strikeout call, like Leslie Nielsen style from Naked Gun. That's pretty much my go-to.
Was anyone in your general vicinity in trouble from like getting a little quick punch to the back of the head?
No one was in trouble because everyone was pretty much doing the same thing. High fives all around. It was awesome. It was fun. And after that game one performance, which was really nice, you go into game two, and Cade Crossland has a hell of a performance. What he goes 6, 8 strikeouts, was just dealing.
Gave up 5 hits, only 1 walk.
Yeah,
He was. I mean, Witherspoon was unbelievable in game 1, but Crossland wasn't far off that in game 2.
No, he was fantastic. And Bowden came in and gave an inning, and then Crooks, as he does, comes in and closed it out. Impressive. Easton Carmichael hits 2 home runs. The second one was an absolute rocket off the scoreboard. Get some nice run support early and lean on the pitching and defense. And I think you got to love where they're at. And you're going into Sunday, and these games are critically important now. A sweep over Ole Miss would be huge. And Malachi Witherspoon is really starting to come together late. So I don't know. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the baseball team right now.
Do you think, and we're recording this obviously early Sunday morning before that 2 p.m. Third game gets going. Do you think the Ole Miss guys have gotten the lineup and they're like, wait, there's another Witherspoon?
Yeah, probably.
What?
I
Like, it can't be the same guy.
And they're going to walk out there, and it's like, it is the same guy. What's happening here?
They look very, very similar. Obviously.
You can't just throw a different number on a guy and let him throw this. Yeah, it's interesting. And, the offense is, Ole Miss had a really good pitcher in night 1 that was, crafty left-hander that was throwing some stuff and has a ton of experience. He started against us in the College World Series final, a couple years ago whenever we played against Ole Miss. I was disappointed. I didn't see any beer showers all over the Ole Miss fans like they gave our fans at the College World Series. So maybe that happened yesterday whenever I wasn't there, but I don't know, man. I'm loving what I'm seeing from this group.
Fun team.
It is.
Fun team, and hey, get hot at the right time, man. You never know.
That's it. And I think whenever, they put together a really good season, a bunch of good performances, and some guys, it's starting to come together in a good way, even better than maybe you hoped, and get some guys that are, the big thing is it's going to be, we got to get Taki back. That injury was big, and I think they're still expecting him in the postseason at some point. Having that big power left-hand bat in the lineup is big for us, and he was really starting to play well. So getting him back is going to be crucial in the postseason. But keep clipping off games, you may find yourself hosting a regional, and this place is going to be on fire if that happens.
I know that. Still got a little bit to go. We'll see how the postseason goes for Skip Johnson and the boys. But overall, remember the buildup of, we're going into the SEC for baseball. Are we ready? Is the fan base ready? Well, yeah. Turns out they've been very competitive and a ton of fun to watch. It's gone well, in my opinion.
I think it's been great. We've had a bunch of really good series. The home schedule's been awesome. The crowd's been great. We haven't had the best weather early throughout the SEC conference play, but it's good right now, and the fans are showing up. I imagine today going to be another packed house, and this team is answered the call. I mean, the competition, you looked at what the schedule was going to be before the season started, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be brutal. And they've navigated it really well, and they've more than held their own. And if you would have said that before the season that Oklahoma's going to be going into their last two series through the gauntlet that they've already played, and they're going to have hosting a regional is still going to be on the table, I think people would be thrilled with that.
No doubt. Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
I had to go to the other diamond sport, had to go softball, had the series lost to Florida. It's not all bad. We did wrap up the regular season SEC championship, so that is a good thing.
Question for you.
Yes.
When did the Sooners wrap up the SEC regular season title?
It was Friday, right? I think they wrapped up at least a tie.
They wrapped it up before game 2 and game 3 were played.
Right.
That's what I'm using as the excuse, buddy.
Yeah.
They were on edge. The motivation was there. And then you have this moment where, oh, we already won the regular season title. And you just a natural little relaxation from the squad. You drop game 2 and game 3. That's what I'm telling myself. What do you think of that?
I think that's a reasonable explanation, and I'm here for it. I will take that. But really competitive series. Game 1 was the extra innings. I thought Sam Landry was great in that game. She just threw, I think, 140 plus pitches late in the game and into extra innings. There were times where they had runners on. She was in some jams, and she just, kept dealing, got herself out of it, trusted the defense, actually got some good strikeouts late. Didn't strike out a bunch of people, but, late in the game when they needed it, she got a couple of big ones. And, perhaps game 2 and 3 is exactly what you're saying. And let's not show anything that we don't need to heading into the postseason. But even though Florida got the series, I thought we were going to make a late comeback when we hit that home run in game 3, but it wasn't enough. Couldn't close the distance. But I'm happy with getting the sweep over Texas, and then going and getting the win that you needed to wrap up the regular season SEC championship. I think that's awesome. And even though they didn't win those last 2 games, it does feel like they're trending in a really good direction heading into the most important time of the year.
When you think about it, they've won 7 of their last 9. That includes sweeps over Mississippi State and Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And you went and stole the first one in Gainesville.
Yep.
You think about how young this team is. I know that all of our expectations are just wildly unrealistic. This team went, what are they, 43-7?
Yep.
Every other fan base would take that in a heartbeat. But it's just, it's going to be a little more exciting this year. Maybe exciting's not the right word. Like, we don't know if they're going to be able to go and win this entire thing. It's a mystery. Yeah. Bat's got to get a little hotter. There's no doubt about that. Landry's going to have to just be fantastic in the postseason. And one of these other arms has to step up in a big way.
Agree.
My money's on Deal. Just because of what we saw her, we've seen her do a couple big moments this season. She's got the experience. She'll probably be comfortable in that setting.
Yep.
But yeah, it doesn't feel guaranteed this year. And I think that's an unsettling feeling for the fan base, but it's also a little excitement. There is excitement in the uncertainty. I like it. Let's go. Let's roll. We're not scared. Come on.
I totally agree. It's going to make for some great entertainment. And, it's a little bit different whenever, every hitter in the lineup is hitting like 450 and, is essentially the All-American team top to bottom. it's going to be a little bit tighter. And I would say, like, for me personally, I think that we've been able to operate in the past with a pretty big margin for error. And every time you walked onto the field, people came out of their comfort zone and tried to do too much against you. And I still think that's the case to some degree, but not having that margin, I think you got to be really, really good on all of the details. Small mistakes are going to be costly, so they got to find a way to play some super clean softball. And it does feel, at least in my opinion, that they've started to hit their stride, and we've seen, like against Texas, that maybe what their ceiling is or what they're capable of. And I do think that even though they didn't win the series against Florida, that it does feel like there's some good confidence building on the roster.
Patty's already been given a little ammo. Did you see they have an early game at the SEC tournament?
I did not see that.
Yeah, an 11 a.m.er. The disrespect.
Mississippi State. I see it now.
Winner of LSU Mississippi State. They'll play Thursday, May 8th at 11 a.m.
Okay.
Don't have the Sooners in the night session? Seriously? Okay.
That's interesting.
Interesting. Okay. I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's a big deal or not. I saw it and I was like, that's disrespectful, I think.
I can just imagine Coach Gasso in the opening press conference going to take a flamethrower to that place, right? Is the 11 a.m.
We got to get Patty on. We will start making that
About that
effort.
time.
Also, got to get T-Row on to talk some baseball. See if Skip will come on.
Yeah,
it's that time of the year, man. It's Diamond Sports, so let's we're gonna lean into that a little more, if y'all don't mind.
it's going to be fun too. The postseason is going to be excellent on both sides, I think.
All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first,
all right, guys, it's time to make the switch to the Ridge wallet. Go to ridge.com, use promo code OKBreakdown at checkout for 10% off your order. The days of the super fat wallet that hurts to sit on are over. Make the switch to this sleek, modern design that can hold up to 12 cards and cash. Love this little elastic band that it's got on that Gabe is showing here. Ridge has over 50 colors and styles to choose from. Ridge has free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products. It's literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology that keep you safe from digital pickpockets. Get 10% off at ridge.com when you use code OKBreakdown at checkout. That's ridge.com, code OKBreakdown for 10% off. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you.
and Huel Black Edition ready to drink is a meal in a bottle. One bottle contains 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, and is low in sugar. Go to Huel.com and use our code OKBreakdown for 15% off plus a free gift for new customers. Huel is a perfectly balanced meal designed by nutrition experts to take the guesswork out of healthy eating. And they've got great flavor options, vanilla, chocolate, your standards, but I'm a strawberry banana guy. Oh, and the iced coffee. Iced coffee in the morning.
Money.
I love drinking one of these in between lunch and dinner. Also, if you're scrambling around with the kids in the morning, the iced coffee is perfect. It's got your calories, got your protein, also a little caffeine in that bad boy for you to get you going. Tastes great too. Great taste on these things, and it's just fantastic. It's so convenient. That's the thing about it. Convenience. I love things that are convenient, and that's exactly what Huel gives you right here. And you just can't beat it, guys. You can't. Go order this delicious and nutritious product at Huel.com and use our code OKBreakdown for 15% off plus a free gift for new customers. That's Huel.com and use code OKBreakdown for 15% off for new customers. Get your fuel with Huel. I made that up myself. I hope they like it.
Nice. Really
for
good.
my winner of the weekend. Thought about going with Mikko Rantanen. Did you watch any hockey? The NBA game was so bad. We talked about it with Tim. The NBA game was so bad that I was like, okay, I don't need to watch this anymore. I'm locked in on the hockey.
I did not,
Oh, Ted.
unfortunately. But
Game
I know it was
7.
a big game 7, yeah.
Game 7 between the Avalanche and Stars in Dallas. Stars go down 2-0. Early in the third. Building's nervous. Rantanen was not. Dude was insane in the third period for the Stars. Will this do? Oh, you're down 2-0? How about I get you 3 goals and an assist, buddy? We win 4-2.
10 minutes?
Dude, it was wild. And his first goal was just an absolute. I mean, he gets this nice little pick. He comes across the ice right to left. It just fires one top shelf. I was like, well, that's good. Second goal, it's like 1-on-3, and he just skates by these guys. Like Superman dives behind the goal, wraps it around, somehow banks it off a guy's skate into the net. I was like, this guy's incredible. I don't watch a lot of hockey. I know who he is because he played for the Avalanche for forever.
Yep.
That had to feel good. 10 seasons with the Avalanche, including the first half of this year, and he sent him home, man. It was electric to watch. I assume we have some Dallas Stars fans that listen to this. Got a lot of people in Dallas that listen, but that was a lot of fun to watch. Game 7 in the NHL is always fantastic, and this one delivered. Like, it felt kind of like the Stars were dead, and then all of a sudden, Mikko Rantanen happened. It was sweet.
Well, this is a wake-up call for me. There pretty much is nothing better than playoff hockey, and I need to get locked in and focused.
Both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us. I agree. But my winner of the weekend, it was big Saturday in the Ikard household with the Kentucky Derby.
I bet. The buildup has been big around there.
We had to watch all the preliminary races. We watched all the preliminary races from the Kentucky Oaks day, the day before, had them all recorded. I mean, a lot of horse racing content was consumed for the Ikard children this weekend, and they were fired up, and Sovereignty did not disappoint. First of all, what an incredible horse name. Sovereignty.
It's strong and in great contrast with Journalism, which I think is the worst name for a horse I've ever heard.
Oh, are you shocked that Sovereignty just blew by Journalism in the last, 16th of a mile? See ya.
I was just fascinated by that name all along whenever I, got the lineup and started looking through it. Just totally random. I don't know. It's weird.
I wish I could give the person credit. I saw a tweet that was like, it's very interesting. This is the first time that the public has trusted Journalism in several years because he was the public betting favorite. But you hear the name Sovereignty and you're like, okay, that horse can run. There's no doubt that thing can go. And it just had more juice than Journalism late in that race, but it was a great race. Really, really enjoyed it. Kids were fired up as it went down to the wire, Ted, just fired up. A lot of screaming, a lot of acting like they were riding the horse themselves. Pretty good stuff.
Well, with all the horse race watching that you guys would do, I wouldn't be shocked did one of the kids come up and say, "Hey, Dad, I've got a $2 exacta box. I was thinking I want to box the 5, 8, and 12 horse."
I may have printed out some sheets.
Okay,
printed out some sheets. Taught them about some trifectas, some exactas, some of the lingo in the horse betting world. I had to break it to my oldest that he does not have a future as a jockey. I said, son, I'm sorry. You're like already the size of these guys. It's not in the cards, buddy. He was a little disappointed, but I explained to him that actually
we import the horses from Avatar. He could race one of those probably.
There you go. Maybe by the time AI figures out horse breeding, then maybe my son could be a professional jockey at like 6'4", 225. We'll see.
Yeah, there should be like weight classes for jockeys, right? You're in the 250 plus crowd.
I'm currently I have gone out of my way to gain some more weight. I was like, I'm getting a little too thin, back up to 250, feeling good, Ted. Feel good.
How about that?
Feel good.
I like it.
Been drinking a casein protein shake before bed. It's really
Get
helped.
that long protein draw out, huh? I like it.
Yeah. But back to the Kentucky Derby. I don't know how we got there. But I'm not sure this is an unpopular opinion or not. And maybe I don't know enough about horse racing. 19 horses in a race is too many.
Too much to keep up with. Too much.
There's too much traffic,
opportunity.
man.
Yeah.
Like, am I sure that we just saw the best horse win? I don't know. I don't know anything about horse racing. But at the start, it was like Citizen Bull just cuts in front of everyone and like cuts everyone off. It was a very interesting tactic. But it just seemed crowded, right? And maybe the sloppy track had something to do with it. It just seemed a little too crowded to me. I may sound dumb, but I don't know. It felt very congested.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times how they draw the post it can factor into that. Like you said, Citizen Bull was, I think, the one horse, right? And pinned on the rail. He's a fast horse. Typically, fast horses like to be outside to let all the nastiness happen. But in order to get through that, not be pinned in, I mean, they talked about it. That was going to be the plan. They're going to have to come out of the gate running. And I think you get some of that from time to time. But I don't know. They've done it 151 times. Has it always been 20 horses? I guess with scratches and stuff, sometimes it changes, but I don't know.
It just felt crowded. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I guess NASCAR races are crowded. Formula One races are crowded. Everything's crowded. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but it just felt. I guess maybe I'm going back. I think it makes the jockey more important.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I think the jockey's too important. I just kind of want to see who the fastest horse is. But the jockey element's there. I don't know. It just felt crowded to me. That's all I'm saying.
I'm with you.
One more thing on the Kentucky Derby. Have you heard about this horse Into Mischief?
No.
Didn't run in the '08 Derby. He was injured. Didn't have much of a racing career. I think he only ran in like 6 races. Had some nagging injuries, Ted. A lot of athletes. That's happened.
Mm-hmm.
What could have been, right? Well, let me tell you, buddy. He's crushing it in retirement. He will be the top, they call it a sire, which what an awesome name. The top sire in the North American horse game. I think it's going to be like 7 straight years.
Wow. Hey.
So
that's where the money's made.
Dude,
so
listen to this. His sons, Authentic and Mandolin, they won back-to-back derbies in 2020 and 2021. He's also last year winner, Mystic Dan. He's Mystic Dan's grandsire.
Okay.
Which, just again, amazing term. And he is Sovereignty's sire. 1 horse, 3 derby winners.
That's crazy.
Now, he is the 5th horse, the 5th sire, to produce 3 derby winners. He's the first since 1957.
Wow.
I mean, so it's been a while, man. And so it feels like this anomaly. And I went down a rabbit hole of reading stories about this horse. Supposedly gets very excited when it's time for him to perform these days. Like,
okay, that's good.
He's vigor. Guys ready to roll. But his stud fee, because he didn't have a great racing career, when they first started listing him for mating, like his stud fee, I think they opened it at like $12,500 was his stud fee. They weren't getting people to pay that. I think it dropped as low as like $6,500 or $7,000. Guess what it is now?
Lay it on me. With those numbers, I don't think anything is out of the question.
Stud fee currently $250,000. And he does approximately 200 of them in mating season.
Woo!
$50 million horse breeder, dude, for 1 year.
Wow.
Into mischief. Into
No
mischief
wonder
indeed.
no wonder he's got such vigor.
Yeah. I was reading the story, and I guess when another horse leaves the barn to like go mate during mating season, he gets like pissed off that they're leaving and he's not.
Hey, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Haven't you seen my bloodline? Okay, what are we doing here?
But I went down this rabbit hole of reading about this horse and its offspring and then I started reading about, they're trying to figure out like, okay, why do his genetics with this mare and that mare? And it was very, very interesting. And they're trying to get AI involved in it, and they still really can't figure it out. I don't know. It was fascinating. It's something you would really enjoy.
It is cool. I heard this, and I don't know, I didn't check it out, but I also saw that every horse in the Derby has a bloodline to Secretariat.
I saw that as well. That makes sense.
Not surprising. Right.
Makes sense. I imagine Secretariat had a successful retirement as well.
That's awesome, though. $250K. Whoo! 200 a year?
200, a mating season. It's like 4.5 months, dude. There's like a mating window where this all goes down. And they just line it up and let him do his thing, man. 250 a pop.
That is awesome.
Making $50 million in 4.5 months. That horse has to feel like the man.
That
Luke,
is like, that makes you want to get into horse racing right there.
there's no doubt.
Insane.
Spread Thrift Farm. Go check it out. That's where it's all going down, Ted. I read like 6 articles about this horse. I spent a solid hour reading about Into Mischief and his life after racing.
Hey,
Very interesting.
Once you know what you're good at, embrace it and become elite.
He's done that.
He's done that.
Loser of the weekend, the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, we talked about it with Tim, but what was that, dude? I mean, can you at least give us an entertaining game? Hey, Clippers, can you at least make the Nuggets? Can you at least make Jokic play in the fourth quarter? I mean, come on, man. What a Steve Ballmer didn't fly all those Clippers fans there for you to get waxed like that.
With the way the rest of the series has gone, I did not see that happening.
It honestly was a bummer.
Yeah.
It was. I was just like, I just wanted to be entertained. I like the Thunder against either of them. But, and we looked like we were going to get a good one. At the end of the first quarter, the Clippers were up by 5 points at the end of the first quarter. And they got outscored 72-40 in the second and third. And the game was over.
Over.
Went off the rails in the third quarter for them. 17-0 run for the Nuggets. Flash flood.
That's crazy.
Flash flood in Denver.
Yeah. Well, I should have flipped over to the NHL, but, I guess the only good thing that came of this game was we ended up watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and it was
nice,
outstanding. So
that's awesome.
That's what we ended up doing.
Nuggets were really balanced offensively. Jokic, Murray, and Westbrook all had 16. Gordon had 22. Brown was really good, had 21. Michael Porter Jr., I guess that shoulder's feeling a little better. He had 15. But the story of this game is, I don't think it's unfair at this point. James Harden's legacy as an NBA player is going to, I think the first thing people will talk about is that he didn't show up in the biggest games of his career. Mm-hmm. And that's a bummer. Like when a guy's going to the Hall of Fame, it's unfortunate that that's going to be the first bullet point that a lot of people think of. But 7 points on 2 of 8 shooting in a game 7? We serious, man?
Can't happen.
I mean, unbelievable, dude. I guess it's not unbelievable. It's exactly what I should have expected, I suppose.
The track record is there.
I need your opinion on one thing.
Okay.
How do Thunder fans treat Westbrook in this series? Does he get any cheers at all? Like he checks in game one, golf clap. That's kind of where my head's at. Golf clap and then nothing.
I would be very surprised if there wasn't some type of acknowledgement. I don't expect it to be overboard, but I think you're right. Golf clap.
We cannot be cheering when he's scoring in the game. Can't do it.
No.
We can't have the Thunder players feeling that in the building. That'll throw the vibes off. So we just all need to get on the same page.
The only way you could cheer, I guess, is if it's blowout and he gets a layup late, and it's like whenever the young freshman finally got to get into a game and play, and everyone's, oh, that was cute. You could cheer then.
Yeah.
But
I'm kind of leaning
that,
towards nothing just because I need the squad to know that I only care about them, for the series. I'll clap for him when we retire his jersey or put a statue of him somewhere. Like, yeah, that's when I'll really like. And I don't think Westbrook wants us to clap for him. He's super competitive. We've got to channel our Westbrook, but against him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like hyper, almost psychotically competitive. That's what we need to do. Wait, maybe we should just completely try to throw him off and just boo him.
Yeah. Hey, whatever.
That may be a
whatever
little
we got to
much.
do. Hey, stakes are high at this point, right? Do what you got to do to win the basketball game, and it very well could start off with a smattering of applause early, and by the end of the series, it could turn into boos.
That's very true. All right. Birthday shout outs. Happy first birthday to Elliot DeGiusti.
Happy 4th birthday to the Space Cowboy Kiko Powell from Pirate Banjo and Cannoli Joe. That is a birthday shout out right
How
there.
about that? Happy 4th birthday to Sullivan Hiley.
Happy 5th birthday to Revan Michael Newberry.
Revan?
Revan.
I've never seen that name in my life.
I haven't either.
Revan?
Revan Michael Newberry.
I have no idea. Revan
Michael Newberry.
It's got to be one of those three.
Yeah.
Happy 5th birthday to Shepard Hiley.
Happy 6th birthday to Freddie Hiley.
Look at the Hiley family. Happy 27th birthday to Braxton Cruz.
Happy 30th birthday to David Mason.
Happy 36th birthday to Garrett G. Valdez.
And happy 60th birthday to Scott Darnold.
On that note, episode 524 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Wednesday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great start to your week. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.
Boom.